Hello, everybody. I'll do that again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special live version of Sake Revolution, America's first sake podcast. I'm your host, John Puma.
And hello, everyone. I am your host, Timothy Sullivan. And today we are recording live at the New York Mutual Trading Japanese Food and Restaurant Expo.
Yes. And thank you very much, Mutual Trading, for having us today. We love doing these sorts of things, and we could not pass up the opportunity to go ahead and do this, especially when you consider the guests we have today.
Yes, agreed. I am so excited. Without further ado, I think we should get right to the introductions.
So I think so too. You're the best at introductions.
Okay. I thought it might be good to do an introduction of who we'll be talking to today so that everyone knows the background of our amazing guests. And first off, I'd like to introduce Mr. Naohiko Noguchi. He's one of the most well-known and well-respected master sake brewers in Japan, and he's considered a living legend in the sake industry. There's no other way to say it. He's both a son and a grandson of sake brewers, and he started brewing himself in 1949. At the young age of just 16 years old. And in a career that spans 9 decades, Noguchi-san has worked tirelessly for the sake industry. He first became a Toji, or a master brewer, at Kikuhime Sake Brewery at the age of 28. That was back in 1961. And he worked there for 36 years before retiring. After his retirement, Noguchi-san came back to the sake industry in 1998 and began producing sake at Kano Shuzo under the Jokigen brand, where he worked for an additional 14 years before retiring again. After his second retirement, Noguchi-san came back to the sake industry once again to start up the Noguchi Naohiko Sake Institute in 2017. This is a brewery where up to 7 brewers can train with him each season, and where Noguchi-san can pass on his knowledge and skills to a new generation. Located in Komatsu, Ishikawa, this institute the sake is released under the Noguchi brand and is now available in the US. It's our honor to welcome Naohiko Noguchi today. Thank you for joining us.
And we'd also like to welcome Mr. Gordon Heady, who actually hails from Portland, Oregon in the US. Gordon is currently the brand ambassador for Noguchi Sake and has trained as a brewer at Noguchi Naohiko Sake Institute in 2017 and 2018. Gordon's been in the sake business for decades in the US as well as Japan, working with importers, distributors, restaurants, and such to promote the benefits of Japanese sake. Welcome to the show, Gordon.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Tim.
Yep. And one last introduction. We also have Mr. Takashi Iwai with us. He's the marketing manager at the Noguchi Naohiko Sake Institute, and he'll be helping us with translations today. Welcome, Iwai-san.
Thank you. Hello.
All right. Well, let's dive right in and get started with some questions for Noguchi-san. What do you think, Tim?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. I'll get started then. So Noguchi-san, one more time. Noguchi-san, you're in the 9th decade of your career, which is very hard to think about when you say it out loud, which started in 1949. In your opinion, what is the biggest single change that the sake industry has experienced over all that time?
Okay, I will translate. 1949年からキャリア始めて、でそこから日本酒業界で一番大きな変化は何でしたでしょうか。
私、酒造りに出たのは、先代孫じさん、親父が酒造りの当時だったもんだから、すごい入ったってことなんですけども、戦争が末期終わった時点でもう日本酒が本当に量が足りなくて、米が使えなくて、みんな制限されて作られてたんです。その中で初めて酒造りに出たわけですけれども、 それが大きな変化であって、戦後復活して田んぼにお米がたくさん作れるようになって、自由に今酒を作れるようになったんです。それでそこが大きな変化だったと思うんですけども、日本酒は戦前には大量に酒作られておった。その作りとは全然違った精白が白くなって機械が精米機が開発されて磨きができるようになっていい酒ができてきたと私は思っております。それとそれに合わせた技術というのは進んで、私も勉強して酒造りに一生かけてきたわけです。
ありがとうございます。Try to remember. Well, he started working 1949 because of the advice from his grandfather. Grandfather also was Toshi, and after the Second World War, there was a limitation of the rice production. So many breweries cannot make sake enough for the market. So after that, maybe like 1960s, the limitation is finished, and many rice fields can make rice. And after that, brewery can make their own sake as free. And I mean, 無料ではなくて、無料で作れるってわけじゃなくて、自由に作れる。
So after the limitation of the rice production, so new machineries and stuff were installed to the sake industry, and like more or less like several limitations are kind of like unlocked, so they can produce sake freely in a way.
And after that, the sake processing technology is rise up, and well, like something like Junmai Daiginjo can produce. So maybe rice limitation and the rice production came back like before the World War is the biggest change during his career, like 1960s.
All right, excellent. Well, I want to move into present day and ask Mr. Noguchi-san about how it came about that he had the opportunity to open the Noguchi Naohiko Sake Institute in 2017, and what inspired him to come out of retirement for a second time for this special project.
2017年に野口直子研究所で、また開業することに携わる、きっかけと、2回引退してまた、戻ってきたという感じで、どのような経緯でしたでしょうか。
いや、これは経営者の考え方もあったんですけれども、私としては酒造りがもう自分の一生が日本酒造りに費やすると思って、健康でさえあれば作りたいという意欲もありましたけども、頼んでくれる人がいなかったら俺作れるわけですけれども、そういう経営者がいて、私ももう88歳まで今現在酒造りを真剣に取り組んでいるところでございます。何しろまあ自分の人生から眺めてみて、ここまでお客さんとの対話がしていい酒とは何ぞやってそれを追求して 来れたというのは、お客さんのあってのことじゃなと思って今感謝しているところでございます。
はい。he will come back because he wants to make brew sake in for his life, and he asked by the owner Noguchi Naohiko Sake, and he decided to come back when if he is healthy and want to make sake for his life, and his happiness is the comment from the drinkers is the sake is tasty, so he wants to persuade this what a good sake is for his whole life. So what he said.
Great.
And why did you pick Komatsu Ishikawa as a location for the institute?
なぜ小松市で
あ
ことになったんですか？
はい。私は今までの都市の真ん中に酒造りがあるということは不自然で、しかも今空気も汚染されるし、温度も騒音もやかましい時代になって、これは日本酒造りはやっぱり空気のきれいで水がきれいで、しかも温度が低い山をめがけて上がるべきだと私は思っていたんです。それを今度の実現には、小松は海の近くで昔から水が悪い鉄分が多いということが大きな境ができる原因だったんですけど、山へ上がって水を汲んでみたら本当にいい水がありまして、こういう自然の中で作れるというのは幸せに感じております。酒もいい酒ができると思っておるんですけど。
Yeah, because he started in Komatsu because he looked for somewhere good air and good water in mountainous areas. So then he found this Komatsu city and a beautiful place. So he said this place is the best place to new sake, and actually the sake taste is good. So
Excellent. Yeah, great. And I cannot pass up the chance to ask Toji-san his opinion. In sake production, what do you think are the most important factors to consider when crafting delicious sake? What steps are most important?
美味しいお酒を作るためにどの工程、何が一番重要だと思っていらっしゃいますか？
原料はお米なんです。米は原料で、これに麹菌を燃やして麹をする。それに発酵させるには酵母を使う。けどもこの原料の米が毎年気候に支配されてできるんです。毎年違って同じ米が毎年あるということは絶対ありえないんです。毎年変わるんです。今年は気候がこうだったから硬いかな、柔らかいかな、水吸いやすいかな、麹作りいいかなということで支配しながら毎年スタートするわけです。毎年変わります。そしてお客さんが好む酒を作るためにはその米を使ってどう持っていくかということがこの技であり事実なわけです。経験を踏んだようにその毎年の代わりの米を意識しながら作りに反映していく。けども一生これでいいということはありえないと思っております。酒造りは一生勉強で、 米が変化してくる米をどうこなすかというのは一番大事なところだと私は思っております。
He thinks the most important thing is adjusting the rice that every year the weather, temperature changes. So after he got the rice of the year, rice change a lot every year. So, well, it's the most difficult things and the most important things for him to adjusting the quality by the different rices every year. So he said he never enough to make the best sake. So he is trying to the best every year to his whole career. So he said he never get 満足したこと。
Never be satisfied.
Never be satisfied with his sake. Yeah, for rice. He's trying every year.
Yeah. I think that may be the first thing you have to learn in sake making is that you're an eternal student, no matter how long you've done it. That's for sure.
He's 80 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
Still learning how to make sake.
Amazing.
To people say the tasty. Yeah. That's his try to make.
Wow. And so speaking of students, you have so many young brewers on the team that are coming in that are learning from you. What is your philosophy for teaching this new generation and passing down sake skills to them?
若い人たちと一緒にお酒作り、してますが、お酒作りのその、技術を伝承するために、心がけていること、大切だと思っていることはあります。
やっぱり酒造りは酒造り従事者が一つになって取り組むということが大事なんです。バラバラなら味が全然決められないわけです。当時のたまにあるこの酒造りは品目が変わっていけば変わっていくようにきちっと麹作りも発酵も変えていかなきゃいけない。そうするときには従業員がかつして当時の顔を見ながら仕事をするし、そういうことに一番大事なチームワークというのが一番大事なんです。そのためには従業員がみんな当時が選んで酒に従事してもらうということなんです。人柄が一番大事なんですけど、それも大事なのは人柄なんです。
He told us the teamwork he cannot make he cannot make sake alone. Everything is teamwork. So he needs to young brewer work as from his thinking to make the best sake for that year. So he said the technique is not the most important thing. The character of the young brewer is most important to make a good team.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So it's all about teamwork. Your sake is being sold now all over the US and in foreign countries. And I really wanted to ask you if you had any message for non-Japanese people who are trying sake for the first time. What would you like to say to them?
外国の方で初めて野口投資、お酒、日本酒を飲まれる方に、伝えたいことありますか？
そうですね。 これは今はね、アルコール飲料は世界市場のになったと思うんです。ワインでも日本にたくさん入ってきます。焼酎も外にもたくさん出ます。市場がもう、世界市場の中に今日本酒も入り込みをしておるんです。で、一番大事なのが生活環境が品種を決めていくんではないかと私は思っております。日本酒で今、日本の国内ではね、ちょっと低迷なんです。ということは、家庭環境、それから温度管理、働く労働条件によって、汗水垂らして働いた時飲んだのが美味しかったのが日本酒なんです。ところが、今はみんな軽労働で、温度一定の暖冷房の部屋で過ごしておる。そういう時代になったら、もう安定した日本酒の製造しなかったら、変化が通らなくなってきたんです。で、今、外国へ向けてこれが、もうアメリカでも中国でも台湾でも、もうヨーロッパも出していかなきゃならん時代になったら、やっぱり市場ニーズを把握してから製造する当時が把握しながら、アメリカではこういう酒が好まれる。これに合わせて作ろうという感じで、これから味を求めて、またお尋ねしたいと思っております。勉強させてください。
He said he wants to learn from the overseas customers what's the tasty sake is for everyone, like United States, or the needs of the taste of the sake that make American people's tasty. So he told us that Japanese market is becoming smaller and smaller, and also when he started his career, mostly alcohol in Japan was sake, but during 70 years his career, market changed a lot. So the wine, whiskey, beer came from the Europe or everywhere from overseas. So in domestic markets, we need to compete with the wines or every other alcoholic beverages. So he wants to export, sake to everyone, enjoy it. So he is 88 years, but he wants to learn from customer overseas. So please, he told us, please tell him the comments of his sake. So, yeah, that's what
great.
he said.
That's great.
Yeah. All right, so I think now we're going to pivot over and have a couple of questions for Gordon. Noguchi-san, thank you very much for answering our questions for you. So Gordon, what's been your biggest takeaway from training? I got to ask earlier about like what about how he likes to train people, and I have somebody here who experienced it. So what was your biggest takeaway from training at the Noguchi Sake Institute?
We would work every day, and we would have the opportunity to have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. And then a little bit of time after dinner, we could have some question and answer session. And even if we had visitors to the brewery, Noguchi Toji always wanted to know what people thought about the sake. This is like some kind of elevated market research, in my opinion, just because he's the Toji. He's constantly wanting to know what people think, their honest feedback. So having that time about a year of my life, actually. It's the pinnacle of anything I've ever done. And working together now as the brand ambassador, I want people to know that everyone at the brewery is working along with Noguchi Toji to bring our best sakes to the world. And knowing that he's been doing it at a high level for so long makes everybody want to just work that much harder so that we can live up to his standard.
Wow, that's great. It must have been a lot of hard work.
ゴゾ
Yeah.
さん。Yeah.
Hi.
ゴゾさん。ゴゾさん。ゴゾさん。
Hi.
私は想像には厳しかったけど、人間的な愛情は持っていたと私は思ってるんですけど、どうですか？
Even though he couldn't communicate enough with you, but like he sees your personality, and he dedicated his like his friendship and everything to you, he thinks. That's what he said.
今日祝です。心よろ感謝いたします。
いやいや、ありがとう。本当にね、頑張ってくれて、本当に人間的な付き合いをしたつもりなんです。厳しいところはやたら厳しく、優しい時には優しく。
I'm so grateful.
分かっていただければありがたいなと思います。
ありがとうございます。
Sometimes he teach hard to you, but sometimes he was kind to you as the communication with love.
Yeah.
He said he hope you understand.
Yeah.
He was hard on you and kind to you as only a Toji can be. So,
Yeah.
Gordon, I'd love to hear about your role as brand ambassador and what type of things you do to bring this Noguchi sake to the world. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
I'm in Kyoto these days. I retired from sake brewing for health reasons, but I'm working as a brand ambassador and an English teacher at some universities and schools. My job is to find new markets, customers from around the world. We're talking to people in several countries now. And we want there to be some communication where people are giving us feedback so that we can tell the Toji what we think of the sakes or what other people think of the sakes. And my job is to try to communicate as best I can to others why these sakes are so special. And I'm doing that on social media. I'm doing that on Zoom right now. And it's my ikigai to have a life work that brings me so much happiness. I'm really grateful.
Well, I think without any further ado, I'm very anxious for you to introduce me to this sake.
Yeah.
And Tim as well, but you know.
So we're gonna do a little bit of a guided tasting, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
I believe you have our Honjozo available.
Yeah. Should we start with the Honjozo?
Why not? You'll notice that when we talk about our sakes, we're not speaking so much about the technical details. We're not putting things like the sake meter value, the amino sando, the sanmi as part of the packaging. Noguchi Toji thinks these numbers distract us. So the important thing is to experience the sake and to experiment with the sake. So you should try it at different temperatures.
Yeah.
tried in different kinds of cups.
That's very wise, but as a sake geek, I'm very attracted to all those stats and numbers.
Yeah.
So this is, I really like this. This is forcing you to approach the sake with kind of no preconceived notions. Like, oh, the acidity is 1.3, not 1.7. So that's going to be a great experience for us. So we have the honjozo in the glass, and this is a nama genshu. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So nama is unpasteurized and genshu means no water added. And the alcohol percentage here is 18%. All right. So John, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
All right. Well, I'm going to give this a smell. Lovely. Very delicate, lightly fruity aroma.
That note that you expect from a nama is still there, but it is a little bit more reserved than some previous namas that we've had, specifically on our show recently.
Yeah. Sometimes namas come in and just like whack you over the head with their strength. But this smells very delicate, very balanced, and very nuanced. So do you have any notes for us, Gordon, what we should look for in the aroma here with the honjozo?
Well, you're smart to be drinking it from a wine glass, in my opinion, because you will find maybe more aroma than you might from a regular honjozo. I think that the notes for me, I taste something akin to a pepper, like white pepper or sancho pepper. So it's very lively in my mouth. And you're going to taste many things with the sake. So you're going to have a first taste that's different than the middle taste, which is different than the final taste. So
that will evolve while you're drinking the glass of sake.
Yeah, as it comes closer to room temperature.
Wow. Yeah. Well, overall, it is extremely elegant and very balanced for a nama genshu.
Yeah.
And I think this sake would also pair well with food, definitely.
What do you think, Tim, off the top of your head? What food?
Well,
for me, it's cheese. I would pair it with Gouda cheese, an aged Gouda, or even a young Gouda.
Yeah. One of my favorite Japanese foods is yakitori. And I think this has just enough weight to stand up really well to my favorite skewers of yakitori.
I think that the weight here, you're absolutely right, is going to stand up to a lot more foods than a lot of the other sakes that we have over here. The fact that it's nama also going to help with that, I think. So I'm not afraid of getting I'm getting a little bit more izakaya fare in front of the sake.
Yeah, but it's absolutely lovely. Very, very elegant.
When sampling our sakes for the first time, because it's a podcast or a Zoom seminar, we have to talk over the sake to some extent. But I try to hold the sake in my mouth and then breathe in and out through my nose and then let it go down. And it's this tail that I find most fascinating with the sake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, see what you mean there.
Yeah, very, very good. So that was the honjozo nama genshu, and we also have a very special treat. I'm almost like can't believe we get to taste this, but we have.
Could you hold up the honjozo bottle so that people can get a look at it?
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. It's a black label. It's hard to see with the plastic shine on it.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
No problem.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to tasting the second sake, which is the Junmai Daiginjo Nama Genshu.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Now, just looking at this in the glass, it seems like this might have a little bit more silkiness, viscosity to it. It looks beautiful in the glass. Very, very elegant and nuanced aroma as well. And this smells just a bit more fruity to me than
I
the
agree.
Honjozo. Yeah.
Yeah. I identify pineapple, vanilla notes. Other people report other tropical fruits like the lychee. And this is a bright, crisp sake. We can definitely appreciate the impact of the rice and the water, but this is one of my most favorite sakes.
Oh my gosh.
It has a wow factor to it. And if you were to taste all of them, I think you could see that they belong to some family of sakes. They all are related to each other in some way, but they're nuanced, whether it's Sokujo or Yamahai, or whether it's one Sakamai or another. I like to think of them all as having this quality of crispness. And served chilled, this one is one of my favorite sakes we've made.
Ooh.
It's a stunner. It is really, really delicious.
Thank you, Tim. I would try it with shiitake mushroom risotto. It's been my favorite recipe with it.
Oh, that sounds like heaven.
Yeah.
John, do you want to hold up the bottle for this one?
Sure. Here we are. And this time,
thank you. All black label. Oh, great.
Yeah, it's still hard to read a little bit, but there it is.
So this, just for our listeners, I just want to mention the silkiness and the texture of this sake is really outstanding.
It's been selected as a first class and business class service for international flights on ANA. And we're really proud of that because they're evaluating all of the best sakes in Japan.
Yeah.
And to have them choose this as part of their service means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to mention a few things.
Sure.
It's possible when it's safer for guests to visit our Sakagura. Komatsu has a fine regional airport. They're building the Shinkansen to extend from Kanazawa to Komatsu. And you're welcome to visit our Toan. We accept one reservation a day. And our Toan is the tasting room where our team in Komatsu is right now. And it's really beautiful. It's designed as a tea room, but of course we're serving sake. You'll be drinking from the finest ware. And as an added benefit, we have a gallery which showcases Noguchi's life in his words and in the words of others. And the only way to access this gallery is to pay to join our tasting room experience. So when it's safe to travel, please meet me there.
I'm counting the days, Gordon. I can't wait.
Another one for the list, Tim.
Yeah. I'll pick you up at the airport.
Great. So we want to ask the people who are on the chat today, people who are watching in live with us, if anybody in the audience has a question for Gordon or for Noguchi-san, we'd like to finish up our episode today with some questions from the audience, if there's any out there. So please feel free to share a question in the chat if you'd like to ask a question. And while we wait for that, I'm going to take another sip of this delicious Junmai Daiginjo.
You really should.
Sarah's asked a good question about how much weight I lost while I was working. Our Kojimuro gets to be so hot. And I spent several hours a day in the Kojimuro, hotter than most. You know, I've been to 110, 120 actually sake breweries now. I've worked in 3 of them. Our Kojimuro got to be as high as 51 degrees Celsius. And this is how I lost so much weight. I ended up losing about 45 to 50 pounds. And as I stand before you today, I put on some of that. But if you can imagine, I went from about 210 to 165.
Wow. That's crazy. So
I haven't weighed 165 since I was 14.
I don't think I've ever weighed 165. Now that question also asked if Tim experienced this as well when he was working at a brewery. So Tim,
I did lose I did lose a little bit of weight, but not as dramatic as that. So I'll leave that right there.
Yeah.
So we did have a question in the chat. There are some sakes in the Noguchi series now. Are you planning any new sakes, new varieties that aren't out yet in the upcoming seasons?
We do have seasonal sakes that the state should be seeing, hopefully. But as far as with the longer term, I don't know if I'm at liberty to say. Maybe Iwai-san, can you talk about new sakes for the future that we might expect to see?
Sorry, Goda-san.
Oh,
New sake?
Iwai-san, can you tell us if Noguchi Toji will make a new kind of sake, either new sakamai or some new product for the American market?
Yes, he is. Well, his policy. He wants to make new things every year. One new thing. So last year was omachi from Okayama Prefecture. He made Yamahai omachi sake. Maybe it was the first one in his career, I think.
Yeah.
And the last one was Aiyama, Yamahai Aiyama. So,
I want to try that.
新しいことをね、去年もお待ち作ったんでね。
He's now thinking to do something new for this coming winter, right now.
今、
Great.
ちょっといいですか。
はい。
これ、日本酒そのものは昔から日本では食前酒だったんです。で、食前酒でタイのお刺身とかそういうものを食べながら食前で飲んでご飯を後で食べるっていうようなのが酒飲みの浄土だったんですけど、今世界を一つにしたとこから眺めてみると、ほとんどワインなんかでも食中酒、食を食いながら肉を食いながら飲むという習性に海外ではなっとるように思うんですけれども、それに合わせるためにはどうすればいいかということで、食上で作っておけばきれいで、今本醸造純米酒は食上なんです。今山ハイに作ると食中酒でも飲める味の幅ができる。それから酸が効いていって肉料理を徹底した料理、油の炒めた野菜と一緒に飲める、そういう酒を模索しようと私は今前を作ってるわけです。だから要するに飲んでいただいて、しかもこの食堂で山との兼ね合いとか日本酒をどうすれば一番うまく飲めるかということをまた聞かせてほしいなって、それを作る側にも勉強させてほしいなと思っておるところなんですけど。
He kindly explained why he made different rice variety of Yamahai, different variety of sake rice of Yamahai. So he told us, it was new to me too, but long time ago, the sake, when he was 20s, before he he became Toji when he was 27 years old, and around that time was the sake was like appetizer sake, not the shokuchushu, middle of the meal. So the sake was for appetizer. So sake has to be clean and clear to pair with lighter taste of food, such as the sashimi of the Thai, the plain taste of the sashimi. But after that, he actually learned Yamahai method when he was 27 years old to 30 years old, 3 years, because the market and way of drinking changed to the shokuchushu. Gordon-san, what can I explain about shokuchushu?
The shokuchushu, it's the concept of having this. I think what Toji-san wants to say is the concept of having the sake to go through the meal, not just at the beginning of the meal. So it's something that should be enjoyed not at the beginning, but throughout the meal.
Thank you. So he wants to make sake for shokuchushu. So he decided to make Yamahai sake to the market. Well, when he was like beginning 30s,
Yeah.
about 60 years ago.
Yeah. So this style of the Yamahai style, his customers wanted to have a stronger tasting sake. They didn't like the sake to be light and delicate. And maybe the only time Noguchi made a sake that he liked was when he first got to Ishikawa, and his customers said that this was not what they want from a noto sake. And Noguchi Toji learned from that time to listen to them. And so he's followed the market trends by paying attention to the customers. And he was one of the first people to create the Yamahai boom from listening to his customers and finding a way to make a stronger tasting sake that could be enjoyed in a variety of ways.
Gordon-san, could you explain what the Yamahai is?
For some of the beginners that are here, Yamahai is one traditional way to make the starter batch of the sake. And there are, well, it can be said that nowadays about 9 or 10% of sake is the Yamahai style. But when Noguchi Toji started to bring it back, it was far less. It was probably closer to 1%, I imagine. And so the Yamahai style can create a stronger and richer sake, but at the same time, it can be made elegant. It has some advantages. One of the disadvantages is that it's more expensive to make because it takes more time, especially the way Noguchi Toji is making it. He wants to make the moto in a slow process, not in a fast one. This takes patience and precision.
So he might add one more type of rice for Yamahai for this coming year. So
Well,
we will discuss later.
let's hope so. He's in the process planning.
So every year he challenges new things, even he's 88 years old.
Yeah. I'm looking through some of the questions here. There's an interesting story about the logo. If you are familiar with what's called a janome in the Kiki Choko, it's the white porcelain ochoko or cup that has the blue concentric circles inside of it. The artist who designed the Noguchi Toji logo took the character No for Noguchi and spun it in a circle to look or to recall the janome. So for Makoto Ito, that's how we answer that question.
That's great. So if you speak Japanese and understand the hiragana, you can see the no in there. I had never realized that before. So thank you for explaining that.
Now I can't unsee it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. It was such a pleasure. We want to thank New York Mutual Trading again, but we especially want to thank the Noguchi Naohiko Sake Institute and Noguchi Toji himself for being with us today. Thank you so very much for joining us on our live podcast. And Gordon, thank you as well.
Oh, thank you, Tim. What a pleasure. Thank you, John. Thank you, Masai, and everybody at New York Mutual Trading. Thank you, Rachel. And of course, thank you for Ueno-san for being our partner.
Excellent. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. And Gordon, do you want to end by letting people know where they can learn more about your sake?
Yes, we have an Instagram page and a Facebook page, and you can go to our website, noguchinaohiko.co.jp, and you can always find me on Twitter. I'm at Gordon Heady on Twitter, and I will do my best to answer any questions and to promote Noguchi Toji Sake for the rest of my days.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Noguchi Toji, arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for talking
so
with
much.
us.
Thank you so much.
This was a pleasure.
Osaki ni shitsu shimasu. Otsukaresama deshita.
はい、どうも。はい、ありがとうね。ね
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Bye.